Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Moiz Nasser. I'll be serving as the Blue Lieutenant Governor this conference, and I now officially call this session to order. To kick us off, our Chief Justice, Jasmine Mackley, will be leading everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Moise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. And I'd now like to welcome your youth governor, Zach Donaldson, to give his opening remarks.
Distinguished advisors, fellow presiding officers, and most importantly, delegates, it is my profound pleasure to begin our 2021 Model Conference. I want to begin with a simple question. Why are you here? No, really. What compelled you to decide that you would throw on your business clothes, log into Zoom, and spend your weekend running a mock state government in the midst of a global pandemic? Regardless of what your answer is, I know I speak for Chris, Greg, and all of the other POs that we are ecstatic you're joining us, and we can't wait to watch you tear it up in chambers. This past year has tested us in ways no one could have foreseen several months ago. As a country, we have had to learn and adapt to the invisible enemy of COVID, coinciding with the poisonous political climate we live in. We've all had to make personal sacrifices and proceed like normal when things just simply aren't normal right now. It is easy to look at the next few days as the weekend that could have been. I know we all wish we were at the Capitol, taking pictures in front of the cherry blossoms and watching Dave John tear it up on the dance floor. I mean, I certainly hadn't planned on being sworn in with a tie on the top and my jammies on the bottom, but here I am. Delegates, the truth is that a few shiny pins and the Capitol chambers have never been what has made youth in government great. It is the relentless, innovative spirit that its participants exude that earns that honor. Its significance is not measured by a collection of titles and honors, but rather a wealth full of thoughtful discussions and creative problem solving. This new virtual environment will produce perhaps the most determined group of student leaders yet, and any prognosis of government today shows a sore need of that quality. So delegates, I challenge you to immerse yourself in this weekend. I get it. The world is moving really fast right now, and I can relate to wanting nothing more than to check out and put everything on cruise control. But for the next few days, this is all you have to focus on. So take advantage of it. Cherish it. I have heard countless testimonials from this conference of how a simple pro or con speech sparked a long-term confidence in someone, or a quick conversation with a stranger budded a beautiful new friendship. I can vividly remember the passion in public policy my first model instilled in me that now has me pursuing a career in law and political science. I promise you that this event will not be an intimidating arena of intellectual combat, but a welcoming buffet of beautiful opportunities. So delegates, leave no dish untouched. Let the raise hand button be your fork, and the relationships, experiences, and memories provided by this conference your meal. You have nothing to lose and all to gain. The hardest part's already over. You're here. You showed up. Step 2 is just to have a little bit of fun. I'll see you on the flip side.
I now have the pleasure of introducing our first guest speaker of the evening, the Honorable Judge J. Andrew Crompton from the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. He is a graduate of Widener University School of Law, and he formerly served as the Chief of Staff to President pro tempore Joe Scarnati and the General Counsel to the Senate Majority Caucus. He is also currently a member of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court Appellate Court Procedural Rules Committee. When he's not on the bench, he can be found coaching for the Cumberland Valley Youth Basketball Association. That being said, I'll turn it over to him.
Hello, YMCA youth and government folks. I am Drew Crompton. Hopefully you're going to have an awesome weekend. I am currently a Commonwealth Court judge. I've been a Commonwealth Court judge for the last 13 or 14 months. I have about a year remaining in my term, but I was appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. I'm actually also seeking election for this position for a 10-year term over 2021. I was honored to speak before your group a few years ago as a keynote speaker, I believe on the same night that you all are there now virtually. Sorry to do this via Zoom. I would much prefer to say hello and offer a few remarks in person, but hopefully next year I'll be able to do that with a new group or some returning folks in 2022. Just a little bit about myself. I served in the General Assembly as a staffer, as General Counsel to the Senate Republicans. I served in the Senate for 26 years before becoming a judge. I also served as counsel to the Lieutenant Governor on 2 occasions years ago. So I have the distinct honor of telling you that I have now officially worked in all 3 branches of government, as a lawyer in the executive branch, as a lawyer in the legislative branch, and now as a Commonwealth Court judge. I don't think there's many of us in the Commonwealth who have served time in all 3 branches of government, but I just thought I would highlight that for you because that's interesting in the endeavor that you all are going to take over the next weekend. You're going to learn about those 3 branches of government. I always say each branch of government has their own sandbox, and they guard that sandbox. The judiciary guards their sandbox. The executive branch guards their sandbox, and the legislature does the same. But that doesn't keep them from throwing sand at each other and sometimes trying to sneak in each other's sandboxes in order to garner more power. And my job as a judge is really to make sure that everyone, including judges, stay in their respective sandboxes. And by that I mean following the powers in the Constitution, the state constitution, and the federal constitution, the powers that are given to each individual branch. But I won't go on and on. My role here, if you will, is to have all of you sworn in. You need to take the oath. In order to make that effective, I did bring my robe, so a little bit like Mr. Rogers. If anyone of you know Mr. Rogers, I will put on my, if I can get the sleeves done, I will put on my sweater, which is a robe. It's actually not a sweater. I'm going to sit back down just so I can be on camera, but you all need to stand up. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. That's it. You may be seated. I hope each of you find this weekend incredibly rewarding, but what you get out is often directly relevant towards what you put in. So immerse yourself in the materials, immerse yourself in the subject matter. Don't be afraid to be wrong, but I wish you all well. And as I said, I hope to see you all next year. Take care.
With that, I'll pass it over to your Blue Lieutenant Governor Moise Nasir and Gold Lieutenant Governor David DeViver.
Hello, everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet, but I'm super pumped for this weekend with so much awaiting for us. We have our full model weekend packed with lots of hot button chamber debate, and I can't wait to see all of you in action. That being said, I encourage all of you to take advantage of these opportunities and make the most out of this weekend.
As you said it, I'd like to keep it a little brief. As you guys know, I'm David DeViver, and this is looking to be one of the best years of YAG. We're going to have some great debate, and I'm super excited to watch each and every one of you put in your best and make this program awesome. This is a year we've all worked so hard for everyone to write our bills perfect and make this year awesome, and we will work together to do that. So everyone, get excited, get ready to debate. Let's have a great year. Now, let's move on to Parker Logue and Ayush Verma for their remarks.
Thank you very much, David and Moise. And I just want to echo the very same ideals that they mentioned moving forward. This convention has been a long time coming, built up by the work that all of you guys have put in. Submitting bills, voting for candidates, even just attending delegation meetings. All of this is working to make this conference the best that it can possibly be. And I am very, very much looking forward to seeing those ideals realized, at least in the House. Let's make this weekend the very best weekend that it can be. Now here's to you, Ayush.
Thank you, Parker. I'd also like to echo what everybody else has said. I know all of you guys have put in a lot of hard work this year, and I would love to see the fruition of it come together this weekend. I know all of you guys will kill it. I know there's going to be some amazing debate in the Senate and the House. I know everybody will just do great all around, no matter what branch you're in. And with that, I'll pass it off to Dave John.
My name is David John, and I'm the coordinating advisor of the East Shore YMCA Youth and Government Delegation. Additionally, I will serve this year once again as the advisor to the committee chairs. It's my pleasure to introduce the 2021 committee chairs. These individuals have a tremendous responsibility as they are the ones who will help launch the legislative part of our program. They've been working hard to study all of the great bills that delegates have submitted, to prepare their bill calendars, and to decide how exactly it is they'd like to see their committees function. I'm really excited to have this group this year. They're energetic, they're enthusiastic, and they certainly have not let the circumstances this year interfere with the fun that they want to have and the fun that they want their delegates to have in committee as well. So without further ado, let me introduce this year's committee chairs. Senator Simran Jain, Senator Morgan McGuire, Senator Anup Savio, Senator Lila Sher, Senator Peter Coe, Senator Avan Mangalmurthy, Senator Laura Philippi, Senator Riley Stoddard, Representative Eli Bertner, Representative Michael Gennaro, Representative Ryan Ghaffar, Representative Zaina Khan, Representative Nick Nedzeski, Representative Dylan Batch, Representative Alex Baturin, Representative Tom Bereznak, Representative Leo Liu, Representative Isha Shah, Representative Dylan Shapiro, Representative Molly Sharma, Representative Asta Singh, Representative Isabella White, Representative Hajra Riyar, Representative Dia Singh, Representative Robert Stereznik, Representative Aubrey Thomas. Congratulations to your 2021 committee chairs, and have a wonderful model legislature. It is now my great pleasure and personal privilege to introduce your 2021 editor-in-chief from the East Shore YMCA delegation, Miss Bella Sucheski.
Thank you, Dave. I'm so excited to kick off the weekend and begin showing you all of the amazing work that press has been doing for the past year. I am so proud of the press corps for how well we have adapted in this virtual setting. We have found creative ways to deliver content, and the quality of our work has never faltered. Our content provided one constant during this year of change and made YAG feel a little more like YAG. I want to thank each and every delegate that has made this possible and took the time to write an article, edit a photo, compile a video, or design a post. The press corps is special because we work so hard to make the rest of the program shine and are often content with staying behind the scenes. So I want to take a moment and say that you all have been amazing this year, and I appreciate every single delegate in the press corps. I especially want to thank the editors who have done a great job of leading their individual branches. So thank you to Anna Conway of the video branch, Elena Lee of the photography branch, Julia Lingenfelter of the written branch, and McKenna Thrush of the social media branch for all of their dedication and talent throughout this year. We would not have all of the amazing content coming up without you all. And with that, I want to introduce our guest speakers. Today, we are honored to be joined by two very special guests, Pennsylvania Auditor General Timothy DeFore and his immediate predecessor in office, Eugene D. Pasquale. Despite having different political affiliations, our guests worked very closely together to ensure a smooth transition between their administrations earlier this year. Auditor General DeFore is the first African American to be elected to a statewide row office in Pennsylvania and took office in January. A Republican, Mr. DeFore previously served as the controller of Dauphin County. An auditor by training, he also worked as an investigator for the Office of Inspector General and Office of Attorney General. He has earned degrees from Harrisburg Area Community College, Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, Penn State, and the University of Pittsburgh. Mr. D. Pasquale, a Democrat, served 2 terms as Auditor General, first taking office in 2013. He also served several terms as a state representative from York County, was a deputy secretary in the Department of Environmental Protection, and was a director of economic development for the city of York. An attorney, he earned degrees from the College of Worcester, the University of Pittsburgh, and Widener Law School. Gentlemen, welcome, and thank you for both taking time to join us today. But the first question is, what early experiences were most important to you in putting you on the course to seek public office?
Continuation to serve my community. That pretty much what started everything off. Actually, I really never had any intention to ever run for public office, never. However, one of the things that I always did, I've always served my community. And as far as my career choice of auditing and fraud investigations, that was something that actually, as a young child, I would hear my parents and I'd hear older relatives, aunts and uncles talk about different things. And one of the things that they would always joke about was what the government did with our tax dollars. And I would hear it all the time. And so that kind of stuck with me as a kid. So, as I got older and was in school, when I was thinking about the career path, one day that just hit me to audit and investigate how our tax-paying dollars were being spent. But also, I wanted to serve my community, which is something that I did just as long as I've been in this particular career field. And so when I ran for Dauphin County Controller in 2015, I did it hesitantly. I had to go kicking and screaming. So, but one of the things that led me to do that was, one, to do the job, type of work that I love to do and that I have been doing, but also it gave me a broader opportunity to serve my community. And it's the same thing with Auditor General. And when I was Dauphin County Controller, I never had any intention of running for Auditor General. I had met Eugene. I'd always had respect for Eugene. And I actually, when I was Dauphin County Controller, I sought advice from him. And he was one of the first persons that I sought out because other controllers across the state, Republican and Democrat, were talking about him. So he was kind of like the godfather of the county controllers. So so when I decided to run, it was a combination for both offices and to do what I've been doing. It's a combination of doing the work that I love, but also serving my community.
For me, from the time I was young, I always received an enormous amount of joy from helping people. The idea that when you're doing something just for yourself, look, we all, wouldn't mind making a couple extra bucks and maybe being a little bit taller and better looking. And for me as a knucklehead athlete, being a little faster and all that other stuff. But that stuff's kind of vain and hollow. But when you do things for other people, it just has more meaning. And that really carried me through, whether still one of the most, much as I was blessed to receive a couple awards, when my football teammates in college voted me most inspirational, of all the trophies I have, that's the only one I still show from sports, because I just think that matters a lot more than how many hits you had in some season. And so that stuff carried through with me to, even as an adult coaching American Legion baseball, when I, do fitness training for the Dallastown football team and helping those young people become better versions of themselves. That stuff had always had a tremendous meaning for me. And also the belief that you can always make something better, whether that's yourself as a player, whether that's yourself as a student, whether that's yourself as a person. You could always do better. There's, maybe Michael Jordan in basketball had sort of gotten to the level where he kind of maxed it out. But for the rest of us, there's still you can still get better. And in 2006, I certainly thought Pennsylvania could do better where it was, and that's why I decided to run for the legislature. And 6 years later, I thought Pennsylvania was off track and decided to run for Auditor General on the idea that it could be better and the Auditor General could be an instrumental tool in help making it better. So it was with those ideas of why I ran for both offices, which the idea of taking the skill set I had to make things better.
Those are both amazing stories. Thank you both so much. Could we also talk about why it's so important for those serving in public office to remain civil?
I'm really worried about this, and I'm sure Tim shares because we've talked about this. You are now rewarded. I mean, I'm not talking about from a financial sense, but when you go to the extreme, you are awarded with more cable airtime, more Twitter followers, more Facebook followers, and to be blunt, more national donors that are willing to chime in. And in all of my campaigns, I've gotten the most flack from opponents. I'm not talking about the public, from opponents, from the times you actually were trying to meet in the middle to get things done. Having said that, the broader public, when you meet them, are always very appreciative of that. And so I just give that as a context. And that is the people you see on cable news, and I won't name all the channels, but come on, we all know what we're talking about here. Rarely do you find the people that are there's this thing when I ran for Congress, and hey, look, who knows if I'll ever do that again or run or open up a CrossFit gym. I mean, both are distinct possibilities. But there's this thing in Congress called basically the Problem Solvers Caucus. You've probably never heard of them. Probably have no idea who's on it. It's an equal number of Republicans and Democrats that meet every Tuesday, and they discuss one problem that they can work together in a bipartisan group to try to solve it. That's how some of these other items have gotten done recently, despite who you see on cable news and who's getting more Twitter followers. That's happening every week in the United States Congress. And I don't mean that to criticize anybody on this call or anybody that's watching this, but I'd be stunned if anybody that's watching this even knows the problem solvers exist. And so I say that the stuff that's actually getting done, rarely is it getting done without a significant imprint from the group of the Problem Solvers Caucus. And so when I'll take it now to the role I previously had and the one Tim has now, what does your Auditor General really do? You go in and find problems, and then you offer pragmatic solutions on how to fix something. I'll come back to a little bit of a sports reference. And that is, when I was playing in college and I had to try it with the Kansas City Royals, and I was told, Eugene, if you were just 6'2", and I'm like, and I laughed and said, like, well, what do you want me to do about that, right? I'm 5'10", my parents are 5'8" and 5 foot. The ship has sailed on me getting to be 6'2". But that was something that couldn't get done. And what we do as Auditor General, what I previously did, what Tim does now, is like, what can get done? So would it be great if everybody had health care and we lowered the cost? There's a whole string of things, and nobody had type 2 diabetes, and we did that, and we just waved a magic wand. And there's some people that sort of offer these magic potions. And I mean, look, that would all be great, but can that happen next week without any additional cost or any additional sacrifice? The answer is unlikely. So what do you got to do? You find pragmatic solutions on stuff that can get done. And I've always believed in the art of the possible.
And and I have to agree with what Eugenia said. I mean, we're to the point in politics that we are divided. We are so divided that we're no longer talking to each other to solve problems. We're yelling at each other to express what our beliefs or how things should be run. And with all the outside influences, the media and other individuals, from regardless of what party you're from, we're so in the extreme that if you aren't careful, you could really lose your own identity and become one of those persons who are extreme, even though that's not who you who you really are. And so one of the things that we have to be really, really mindful of is why are we here, and what is it that we're doing? Because if we don't, if we continue down this downward spiral of just yelling, and if you don't necessarily agree with 100% of what I want and what I believe, then you're my enemy. You're not somebody. You're not a friend. You're my enemy. For example, I can't think a person on the face of this earth that I agree 100% with. That person does not exist. On the average, I may agree with maybe 80% of what somebody believes. And when I say this, I'm talking about even my own mother, who I love more than anybody on the face of this earth. And just because I agree with 80% of the things that she says and 80% of her beliefs, does that mean that I hate the other 20% of her? Does that mean that I completely negate and forget about the other 80% of which I do believe and which I do love? No, it doesn't mean that. But that's pretty much where we are as a society. And sometimes we just kind of need to take a step back and really look at the people that we put in public office. Look at the people who are doing the talking, the people who have the loud voices. Just because someone has a really loud voice doesn't necessarily mean that they are saying or doing the right thing. They're just loud. And at that point, it's, you have to be careful of those types of individuals, because like Eugene said, those are the ones that are getting the press, the ones who are the loudest. I'm kind of a quiet and kind of a laid back guy. So you just have to just really listen to what individuals are saying, and you really can't necessarily stray away from your own personal beliefs. And although you may have your own personal beliefs, just because someone doesn't agree with everything that you say and everything that you believe in, it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. They're not a bad person. That just means that there's some things that you just don't agree with. And, but the other 80%, 70% may be something that you can work with. So, but it all comes down to how you communicate those as well. So communication is always the key. If you're constantly yelling and shouting at each other, and someone gets in your face and is yelling and shouting at you because of what you believe or because of what they believe, what's the first thing that's going to happen? You're going to get defensive. I would. And that's just who we are as human nature. So what we basically need to do is just kind of tone down the rhetoric, listen to what people are saying, and stop the shouting.
First of all, Tim's 100% right. We're all human beings. And what I mean by that is, who wants to be hated, right? I mean, there's, we always talk about sort of that sometimes the athlete that relishes the fan booing, but that's all, fun and nonsense. Nobody wants to be hated. And I jokingly say that there's a lot of social media muscles out there. There's a lot of people that on Twitter are really happy to start throwing haymakers at somebody that they happen to disagree with. But I'm going to give you one personal example. She's going to be mad at me if I talk about this, but for me, marriage equality was an important issue for me because of certain friends and knowing some of the discrimination they had to go through. And so when the idea that marriage equality was first really moving towards the legality status, my mom, to be blunt, as an older Catholic, struggled with that. I didn't just walk into the house and just start yelling at her. That would have made her more defensive and probably even pretty angry about it. Whereas opposed to just over the period of a couple of years, we talked about it. And on her own, she got to a different place because we talked about it. She got there on her own, as opposed to somebody just walking in and yelling at her. And so I say this to each of you. If you want someone to move towards your position, whatever it may be, social, economic, or whatever it may be. And I joke and say, some of these people that yell and scream at everybody, I don't know what type of relationships they have or if they have kids, because when my kids want to watch one movie, I don't just yell at them and start slamming them on Twitter. How dare they want to watch, that stupid Winnie the Pooh movie? We should all want to watch Star Wars. Well, sure, we should all want to watch Star Wars, but that's not going to solve the problem. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to actually listen to why someone else has that different point of view, and maybe you're going to learn something in the process.
Yeah, I love that advice. And yeah, that's something we're really trying to strive towards, is like listening to both perspectives, and that's something that the program really encourages younger students to do. So along with that, the next question is, in an environment where politics have become so divisive, what made you decide to approach your transition differently?
First of all, I just believe it's the right thing to do. I mean, even if it's someone that you, and this is certainly the furthest thing away from my opinion with Tim, but even if you have no respect, and again, it's not Tim, it's the exact opposite for me, but even if you don't respect the individual, that person won the election fair and square, and the people of the state matter more than your own individual opinion. So it's just the right thing to do. That's A. B, I believe the office of the Auditor General is one of the most important offices in the state of Pennsylvania. If I truly believe that, why wouldn't I impart everything I know, everything I learned, the mistakes I made, and continue to have that access there well after I'm gone to my successor? Because it's not about me. Yes, look, there's going to be a portrait of Tim someday. There's going to be a portrait of me, and yes, we're the name on all the news releases, and there's a bit of that goes with this. I'm not trying to be naive about this, but the work goes on, and the work is well beyond that one individual. It's about the benefiting nearly 13 million Pennsylvanians. So if I didn't do that, everything that I would have been preaching during that 8 years to me would be, to be blunt, a lie. And then third, what made it so much easier was Tim and I had a relationship beforehand that was well beyond partisan politics. In fact, Tim, every time we got together for lunch or talk, I don't think we even brought up political party. I mean, I literally, other than maybe the first time we sort of said, hey, you're this, I'm that, and now that's over, I don't think it ever came up again. If it did, maybe it's because we were making fun of somebody else on the outside, but he never brought it up. I never brought it up. And so that certainly made it easier. And every time we talked during the transition, and certainly when his teams talked, or his team and my team talked, it never came up. And I'm talking about literally never. Sometimes, we would both concede, here's something you got to be a little bit aware of on the left or a little bit aware of on the right, just to help make sure nobody had a blinder on. But when it came to our interactions, it never came up because the job of Auditor General defines nonpartisan.
Exactly, and I have to agree with what you said 100%. This office, it's apolitical. But going back to the mutual respect, and another thing that he said where he was 100% right was that it's about the Office of Auditor General, and that's something that we definitely both understand. But the thing that's unique about Eugene and I is that that personal relationship existed. And it existed shortly after I was elected Dauphin County Controller in 2015. I remember sitting down having lunch with him, and one of the first questions that he asked me was, "Okay, so why is it that you wanted to be Dauphin County Controller?" And I explained to him the same way I explained earlier in this conversation, talking about taxpayer dollars. So right then and there, we both had that mutual understanding of what our roles and what our responsibilities were. And that was to make sure that county dollars and state dollars were being spent the way that they were being spent. Again, our relationship is different because that respect was already there years prior to me even thinking about running for Auditor General. But also, even if it wasn't there, we both respect the office enough to understand that this has to be a smooth transition so the next person, once they get to office, can start doing a job. And it's going to be the same way with me, whoever my predecessor may be. The same amount of respect that was shown towards me, I'm going to show towards that person, because we all understand that there is a job that we have to do, and that job is apolitical. I mean, we abide by the state fiscal code, and the state fiscal code doesn't say Republicans do this, doesn't say Democrats do that. It says the Auditor General shall do this. And that's something that we both understood and something that we still carry on to this day.
One thing to add to that, we have a staff. I mean, I used to, but I literally have no idea, other than my top inner ring, what anyone's political party was in that staff. Yeah. No idea. When I say that, you could put me on the sharpest lie detector test and zap me with electrical bolts if I have literally the 2/3 of the department. If you asked me what their political party was, I literally couldn't tell you. I could maybe take a guess, and that guess would be just literally a blind guess.
Exactly. And I'm the same way. And you know what? And I don't really care. And the bottom line is, as long as they can do the job, and as long as they want to do the job and understand the impact of their job, I don't really care what political affiliation they're in, as long as they understand what their role and responsibilities are and the importance of that role and that responsibility.
Based on your previous answers, I can kind of see where this question is leading, but the next question is, do you feel that in general bipartisanship leads to better solutions to problems? And then along with that, as a society, have we forgotten the art of compromise?
You have to be able to get along. And it goes back to what I said a few minutes ago. Is you have to be able to compromise, because no one is ever going to get 100% of what they want. If they think they're going to get 100% of what they want, then they're going to be sadly disappointed, or they're going to be one of those persons that talks a lot because they want, if you're either for me 100% or you're against me 100%. So you have to compromise. You have to not only compromise, when someone else comes to you with a different idea and something that, and they may not necessarily agree with you with regards to what your ideas are, that's when you sit down and you have that conversation and try to understand why. You constantly have to ask the question why. And you have to engage with those individuals so you can understand what they're coming from. And if they say, well, let's do it this way, I don't necessarily agree with you. And if you just start yelling at them, like what's happening today, then you're never gonna find any solutions. And to be perfectly honest, right in the middle of what one person believes, another person believes, another entity believes, or one entity believes, right in the middle is that answer. And one of the things that needs to be done is that you have to understand the bigger picture. And that is, there are people out there who are depending on you and hoping for you to do the job in which you were elected to do. And that's the most that any of us can hope from our elected officials. We don't have to necessarily agree with them 100%. I mean, there's not a person on the face of this earth who I agree with 100%. But we have to understand, and we have to have that conversation, and we can't remain partisan the way that we currently are, or absolutely nothing is ever going to get done.
Former New York City Mayor Ed Koch used to joke that whenever somebody came up to him and said, I agree with everything you're doing, he got really nervous about that person. Like, really? Because I'm always trying to, I'm not really sure about that one. You're okay with everything? Because we're all people too. Like you screw up every day. I tend to and have this view on this issue that it isn't just about politics, but about life. That if you take two individuals and they both care, they both tell the truth, and they're both trying to do the right thing, and they happen to have a different point of view, the chance that both of them don't have some legitimate point is highly unlikely. And so if you start with that is, again, I know that if you ignore someone that's lying or just yelling and screaming, but you're sitting in a room and with someone who's telling the truth, they're in a slightly different place than you, and you're in a slightly different place than they are. The idea that they don't have a point is highly unlikely. And so I think we've all got to do a better job of listening, because I think the social media, cable news world today has rewarded blurting without listening. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be, and obviously we've got rights to speak our mind, and feel free to express your point of view, as we all should. But the listening part of it has sort of been, the art of listening, I think, has been lost. So to me, when I hear the term bipartisan, I think certainly I'm for that in concept, but I think it's much deeper than bipartisan, because I think that you should be willing to listen to people regardless of their party, regardless of their ideology, and regardless of who they are, what their creed is, and just do a better job of listening and really hear where they're coming from. And I think that can help you reassess your views and help you find some common ground. If you're not willing to listen, then the other stuff's all window dressing.
Thank you both. That was perfect. I think we can all learn from that going into our conference full of debating and things like that. Listening is really important. So our last question here is, why should young adults consider pursuing a career in public service?
First of all, it's not for everybody. And I mean that. I don't think it is as bad as some people think when it comes to I'm talking about the campaign side of it. You're going to have haymakers thrown at you. I mean, I ran in one of the most competitive congressional elections in the country. That I was basically, there was one where I was accused of murder, which I thought was fascinating. And somebody goes, Eugene, is it true? I'm like, did you see the cops show up? Do you think that if I actually murdered like literally 200 people, which was the accusation in the ad, that you would find out about it from a television commercial or like me being arrested? Where's the likelihood? But like a week later, the ad ends, they go on to something else, and it's sort of, and you just move on, right? I mean, and I say that somewhat tongue in cheek, but you got to be willing to like take that stuff for what it is, right? And so if you have the capability of doing that, or you want to do anything meaningful, you want to be Tom Brady and play in the Super Bowl, you got to be willing to eat right for 25 years. You want to be a tenured professor at Harvard, you better be prepared to be disciplined in your academics. You want to start a small business and make it big, you better be prepared to live in that place for 10, 20 years. And so whatever you want to do, there's a level of sacrifice with that. But nothing can allow you to have the broader positive impact than you can have having the honor of being in public life. And so when people say it's hard, here's where sort of my CrossFit Spartan race college football player comes in. Cry me a river. It's hard to do a lot of things. I don't want to hear about it. Look, nobody should be physically, I'm not talking about physical, I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about sort of the day-to-day grind of being good at anything. It's of course hard, and it should be. It should be hard to get to be elected Auditor General. It should be hard to get to be elected President, U.S. Senator, State Representative. God help us if it's not, because if you're going to get additional power without that work, that scares me. And I mean that literally. It should be hard. But once you get there, the ability to do good for your community, your state, and your country is immeasurable. And we need good people to do it.
Absolutely. And you have to have a thick skin and a short memory.
That's right.
That's something I'm still learning. Even yesterday, there's some I guess you could call them some mean tweets about me. That's kind of like every day. You just kind of
that's just every day, right?
Yeah, exactly. So and April can't see her. She's probably shaking her head like, yeah, Tim, you do. And Eugene was right. It's something that's not for everybody, but there are times where you may not think it's for you, as it was with me. Sometimes you find politics, other times politics finds you. And in my case, it found me, because it's not something that I ever wanted to do. However, with some of the things that were going on in the county, some things going on in the Commonwealth, and where I was in my life, there was that opportunity, and I took that opportunity. I'm not going to say that everybody's going to have those same type of opportunities, but at the time, that was something that was right for me. So even though individuals may not serve going to public life and to serve in the same ways that Eugene and I have, there's still things you can do. I still believe that we also be involved with our communities, pretty much like this program is, Youth in Government. I believe this is my 6th year involved with the program. Even in the past 2 years, I've kind of been missing in action because of other things that have been going on. But I believe that we all need to somehow serve our community, and because our community has given us a lot. I don't think there's anybody out there that has been a success, purely just on what they've done. I mean, they may say that. However, there's always been little bits and pieces that our community has given us, that has given us the ability to do some of the things that we're doing, whether it's be a public elected official, or whether it's serving your community in some other aspect, or any other part of your college life or your professional life, or even in high school. So I feel that community service is something that's important. You have to find within yourself what part of the community service is the best fit for you. But keep in mind that you should always keep your options open, because you never know what's going to happen, and you never know the opportunities that you're going to get.
Thank you both so much. That was extremely inspiring. I know for myself, and I know everyone in the program that's going to be watching this in the next couple weeks will also learn a lot from everything that you both had to say. Thank you, Mr. DeFore and Mr. DePasquale. Now we'll hear a few remarks from our YMCA staff, Executive Director Greg Rutter and Program Director Chris Barber.
Welcome everyone to our first ever full virtual model convention and 75th conference. We're excited to finally be here after this very long year. This year has been a challenging year for us all. A little over a year ago, the first time in 75 years, we had to cancel our model convention. Over this year, we had to figure out a new way to provide this program, as all aspects rely on in-person events. It was challenging, stressful, but in the end, a rewarding experience. Thankfully, we didn't do it alone. This year has shown us we have some of the most dedicated alumni, advisors, and of course, student leaders across the country. Alongside of us have been your 7 presiding officers who worked with us to make sure this program and this weekend is successful. Thank you to those 7. And of course, without all 300 of you delegates participating, this program continues on for future generations. We're living in a time where a lot of changes will be taking place, and your generation will be a part of making those changes. I look forward to, as I do every year, learning from you all on solutions to make this state and country a better place. With the help of technology and social media, although both can have their drawbacks, we are able to continue discussing issues together when as far back as 5 to 10 years ago, this would not be possible. So while we can think of many negatives that this past year has brought us, I want you all to focus on the positives. I want everyone to participate this weekend like you would if you were in the Capitol chambers. Have fun, make new friends, and work hard. Again, thank you to all advisors, alumni, volunteers, and students that helped us make this year a year that we for sure will never forget. Enjoy the weekend. Now please welcome Greg Rutter, Executive Director of the State YMCA.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Before I get started, really the thanks goes to you and all the background, all the behind-the-scenes work that you had to accomplish this year to get us to this point, to try to create an in-person conference feel in a virtual setting. We couldn't have done it without you, and we're really grateful for all that work you put in. We're looking forward to a great weekend. You know, when we think about leadership, and we, Chris and I, have an opportunity to work with amazing leaders all year round. But when you think about this word leadership and the opportunities that you guys have to lead through this program, I think we could break that word down, lead, into some attributes or characteristics of good leaders. So just if you'll indulge me just a few minutes, I want to go through 4 characteristics that we hope you guys experience this weekend at our model conference. Think of the word lead. Leadership requires listening intently. Your speakers this weekend are going to invest in their presentations. They've put a lot of time into this. And when they speak, they're sharing a part of them. Good leaders understand that, and they fully invest in the situation. They fully invest in the speaker and what they have to say. And so I would encourage you, as a good leader, to listen intently to speakers. They deserve that respect. They deserve that time that you give them. And good leaders understand that listening intently is a sign of excellent leadership. Secondly, engage deeply. You can't listen intently without pouring yourself into this program and this opportunity and this experience. Take every opportunity to empty yourself in these relationships, in the process, in the experience. You know, we say this often, you get back from something what you put in. So engage deeply all weekend long. Thirdly, acknowledge greatness. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to see some good things being said and done this weekend. The spirits of not only the person receiving praise, but also those around them that hear you giving praise, those spirits are lifted. So look for opportunities to acknowledge greatness this weekend. And lastly, maybe more importantly than all of this, good leaders dial in. They are in the moment. We look forward to Model Weekend all year long. This is our main event. Whether it be in person or virtual, it's still Model. So dial in. You've worked hard, you've prepared well. This is an opportunity to showcase that effort. So dial in. Leaders listen intently, they engage deeply, they acknowledge greatness, and they dial in. We look forward to seeing the good work that you will do this weekend. Lead well. We're excited for you. It's going to be a great weekend.
Thank you so much, alumni, advisors, board members, and volunteers, and Chris and Greg as well. Now, please enjoy this thank you video from so many of our youth and government friends.
Hi, Youth and Government Conference 2021. This is Angie Hepler Schoonover, Youth Governor 1997. Congratulations on making it through a completely ridiculous year this year. It's been something completely different than anyone's ever dealt with, and you will always have the story of being the group that came through the program during this unprecedented year. So we are very proud of you. Alumni are very proud of this program. And we are so glad you're involved, and we hope you stay involved. So good luck, have a great weekend, and we can't wait to see you in the future. So keep in touch.
Hi, my name is Kelly McGuire. I've been involved in YAG in some form since my freshman year of high school in 2009, and I can't thank you enough for participating in the program this year. It's been an unprecedentedly difficult year for all of us, and I know you've worked so hard to get to this point. So I want you to enjoy as much as you can your oral arguments and your debates. Can't wait to see how well you all do. Just remember to speak early, speak often, make some new friends, and get out as much of it as you can.
Hi everyone, this is Tony Rosman, Youth and Government Alumni Volunteer, Class of 2015. I want to take a few seconds to thank each and every one of you for all of your hard work, dedication, and participation throughout the entire year. While being remote isn't the situation we would have hoped for, and I can't imagine the challenges each one of you has been through, know that all of your hard work will pay off at Model Weekend 2021. Myself and all of the other alumni volunteers are there to support you every step of the way. So let's get excited for a wonderful model convention.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma Lamoureux, and from 2019 to 2020, I served as the statewide editor-in-chief. I just wanted to quickly hop on here and say that I'm so excited to see what you guys have in store for Model this April, and I'm really proud of the things that you've been able to accomplish despite the fact that COVID is still going on. I completely understand how frustrating that is, but it seems like you guys have some really great things planned for the weekend. I'm really excited to be able to help out this year too and get to see some of your faces again and see some debate. So yeah, wishing you guys the best model weekend.
Hello students, I want to thank you for taking the time to participate in YAG this year. I know in my personal experience that video conferences are suboptimal. The learning opportunities that you've received from YAG are indispensable. Thank you for being interested in government and the institutions of our nation. Thank you for the time you've already put into YAG and getting prepared for this model convention. You're shaping to be influencers in our society for the better. Have a great model and make the most of this year.
Hi everyone, I'm Anastasia Saratelli and I was the 2010 editor-in-chief.
I'm Scott Saratelli, I was the 2009 video editor.
We loved our experience in the program and as delegates, and we're so excited to come back as alumni and now advisors of East Shore YMCA delegation.
Make sure you take advantage of every opportunity. You're never going to look back and wish you did less. So, go hard at Model this year and enjoy this unprecedented video conference.
You got this.
All right, thank you guys so much for tuning into the opening ceremonies. And with that, await further instructions from your presiding officers or from the advisors of our program, and check out Wild Apricot to see scheduling and where you need to be heading next.